From 1996 to 2007, nearly my every thought revolved around pro wrestling. What is Sting gonna do against the NWO tonight? Is Kidman gonna do the shooting star? Man, Bret Hart tricking Goldberg with that steel plate was awesome. I hope Jeff Hardy hits the Swanton tonight. Wow, Undertaker got Kane's mask off, but I can't see his face. Stacy Keibler. But it wasn't just the TV shows that had my attention. I was way into the action figures. The video games, as you know if you frequent this channel, were a constant. But in 2007, heading into 2008, the tide was beginning to turn. My interest in professional wrestling wasn't only fading, it was hanging on by a thread. WCW and ECW were long gone. Even my beloved TNA by late 2007 was looking at its prime in the rearview mirror. The overall wrestling product was changing. The feel of the shows was changing, and I was headed in another direction. I now had a PlayStation 3. I was so excited to get this thing, and WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2008 was the first wrestling game to hit the console. With better graphics, an updated roster, and ECW now crashing the party, this could be it. Even if the wrestling on TV was falling out of favor with me, this new game might be exactly what I needed to stay on course with my favorite hobby. Today on Triangle X Squared Circle, the Wrestling Game Retrospective Series, I'm diving deep into WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2008, featuring ECW. Every video here on 616 Entertainment is made possible by my supporters over on Patreon. If you enjoyed the show here today, consider signing up. You'll get early access, exclusive videos and podcasts, and more. Pro Wrestling Tees has the merch. As always, thank you for watching. The previous entry in the series, that being SmackDown vs. Raw 2007, had already jumped into this new generation, but only for the green brand. Xbox 360 owners had a brand new, gorgeous, high-definition WWE game a year ago, and holy hell did they need one. Check out the history of WWE on Xbox for full context on that. But now, it was our time. Our time down here. Down here, it was our time. SmackDown vs. Raw 2008, with ECW in tow, smashed its way onto the PlayStation 3 with a bevy of new features. The resurrected corpse of Extreme Championship Wrestling wasn't playing out how we'd hoped it would on television, with zombies and vampires and fat naked guys jerking off an alcoholic's kendo stick while he spat beer out in unison with the stroke. Stop! See what I mean? It's hard for me to even talk about this era without flashing back to how much I hated it. But forget the show. We're talking about the game. In the video game, ECW is here, and we've got the brand new stage and set. The silver ropes and the red logo on the apron. Visually, it's on point. And that's before we dive into the brand new Extreme Rules match type, which allows us to choose which weapons we're grabbing from under the ring. We've been smashing tables for almost 10 years at this point, right? How do we up the ante? How about lighting the goddamn thing on fire? This was big time.
Oh man, that's the one you're gonna feel tomorrow.
Light the barbed wire 2x4 on fire too, why not? ECW stars of the past like Tommy Dreamer, Sabu, and the Sandman stood alongside the new generation of Marcus Corvon, aka Alpha Male Monty Brown for us TNA fans, Elijah Burke, and the debuting CM Punk. This was cool as hell, probably my favorite part of the entire package. But this is only one arena, and one match type. My excitement didn't last very long, and if you're seeing this gameplay, maybe you can tell why that is. Oh my god, is SmackDown vs. Raw 2008 slow. So fucking slow. I didn't mess with the speed of this clip. I'm not purposely trying to make the game look bad. This is just how it looks. And if you think it looks slow, playing it is a whole nother story. Every wrestler feels like they weigh 650 pounds. Even running plays out at a snail's pace. Almost literally. Look, this is a shoot snail. He's in my living room right now. He moves about as fast as the characters in the game do. The speed being slowed to a crawl here is, in my opinion, where the beginning of WWE video games taking on a simulation style truly started. Match this slower pace with the addition of fighting styles, and we've got the driving forces behind SVR 08. Fighting styles introduce brand new archetypes, with each member of the roster being smashed into a specific shape. Jeff Hardy, obviously, would be put into the high flyer fighting style. This means Jeff Hardy can do springboard moves like the Lion Salt and the twisting springboard tornado DDT at a moment's notice. You know, moves Jeff Hardy has never done in his entire career. The fighting styles eliminate certain moves from being possible for certain wrestlers. This system was pitched to fans as being the next evolution. It promised to afford players experiences unlike anything they'd engaged with prior, and in some ways, this was accurate, just not in the right ways. I'm not going to wait until the end of the video to say this. Fighting styles were almost universally hated by fans of the series, and they would never return to the franchise. I can see what Ukes were going for here, but taking freedom away from the player, forcing square pegs into round holes, and really pissing on the player's head and telling them that it was merely rain, yeah, there's no wonder this feature was killed off immediately. The inclusion of restrictive fighting styles isn't the only head scratcher here, though. I've got a full list of things that have had me wondering what they were thinking since this game released. We'll get into them now, kind of get them out of the way so that I can eventually move into a more positive direction. So if you don't enjoy fair criticism and you only want me to pretend that every game is the best thing ever made, you either want to fast forward or just go to another channel. Capiche? Good. What the fuck is going on with the belts? How in the asshole did this game ship with championship belts that are the size of a fucking cookie? This is embarrassing, man. Embarrassing. It should look like this, right? Not like this. Jesus Christ. This game is dark. Not content-wise, no. I'm talking about the lighting. I'm not sure what the art direction was thinking here, but this is not what WWE television looked like at all. Why did they take the clock away from the lower right-hand corner? I loved looking down at that thing and realizing that the match that I was having had passed the 10-minute, the 12-minute, the 15-minute mark, you know? Hell in a Cell practically doesn't even exist. I understand playing with transparency to keep the player's view from being overly obstructed. But we've seen games both past and present that improve visibility while inside the ring, then solidify the visual once it's no longer an obstruction. Here in SVR 08, the cell looks like a distant memory throughout the entire contest. Weird decision.
Man, this one's turned into a fight.
And the decision wasn't even consistent. The steel cage uses no variable transparency at all. This thing is solid, and if you can't see, tough shit. I find this game to be both incredibly easy and frustrating at the same time. I have never lost a match in SmackDown vs. Raw 2008. I'm not kidding. And yes, the difficulty is cranked up.
Right, JR. You're not going to see this kind of action on SmackDown.
The frustration comes into play with the grappling. Strong grapple moves land maybe 1 in every 9 or 10 attempts. The canned, overlong reversal animations loop in what feels like an endless cycle, leading you to almost ignore strong grapples entirely. Ultimate control maneuvers have eliminated more than a dozen grapple move slots anyway, meaning each wrestler's moveset has been cut in half from the previous game. Even if you could land the moves, there's not much to do. And with all that, I'll put a bow on my complaining for now. Let's shift our focus to 24/7 mode. Season mode and general manager mode are now both boiled down into 24/7 mode, meaning you have to choose how you want to play. Do you want to experience the storylines yourself, or do you want to write and book the shows? Unfortunately, yeah, you have to choose. Let's say you're hours deep into a season mode style playthrough with Jeff Hardy, like I was, and then you decide that you want to step into the shoes of Tommy Dreamer and take control of booking the ECW brand. Sure thing. Just delete your Jeff Hardy playthrough. You cannot, under any circumstances, have both running at the same time. What a total fuck up. What was the point of smashing these two completely separate modes into the same folder? For what? It's almost like they wanted to intentionally inconvenience the player. Anyway, let's look at the different versions of 24/7 mode. Playing as a GM is the same as it was in the previous game. Draft your roster, put rivalries together, and book your shows in an attempt to outperform the other brands. I find it funny that when playing as ECW, you cannot book an Extreme Rules match on TV. Why? Who knows? A ridiculous oversight. What's really crazy is that this was the last time GM mode would be featured in a WWE video game for 15 years. Wow. The season mode arm of 24/7 mode is pretty damn interesting. I decided to play as Jeff Hardy, and immediately I was thrust into a storyline involving John Cena, Edge, and Johnny Nitro. We are all battling to determine who will come out on top as the #1 contender. Who is the WWE champion? No idea. They're never mentioned throughout the entire angle. In the big finale of this storyline, I beat John Cena on pay-per-view. Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler made a massive deal about me being next in line for the title. They're dropping confetti from the ceiling. Damn, I'm really the next big thing, huh? Let's get that title shot. I show up to work the next week and there's no mention of me getting a shot at the WWE Championship. Instead, there's an email from the coach telling me that I can be considered a contender. Alright. I was then thrown into a storyline with some of the exact same characters. This time the goal being the starring role of a new WWE Films movie.
It's bigger than both of us, baby. This crazy world just wasn't made for the likes of us.
Oh my God.
What's so funny? Nobody can work with crap like this. Let's see you try.
This isn't about you, and it isn't about me. This is bigger than both of us, baby.
You want to settle this, actor to actor?
I was consistently running into this issue where I would win a match, and then the cutscene after would be acting as if I lost. I would go check my win-loss record and no, it's perfect. So it doesn't really seem to matter what we do as the player. The story's gonna play out however the game wants it to. I don't know. I do know that it was very odd to have John Cena playing a straight-up heel in 24/7 mode. Cena turning heel was the hottest conversation at the time. It was for years, and we never saw it on TV. But here in the game, look no further. He's a total big-leaguing dickhead. Here, listen to him.
I never got to thank you for that save, but it's all good. You not being able to take care of your business let me take out 2 contenders, and that ain't a bad day's work. So thanks, kid, and you're welcome. Listen up, kid. I've been the face of Raw for a long time now.
I've always respected this man as a competitor, and I can't believe he's actually bringing back up to the ring for a match of this caliber.
He's protecting the brand. He doesn't want to see that loser named the #1 contender on a fluke.
Yeah, I didn't mention that yet. The characters in 24/7 mode are indeed fully voiced, and the performances are pretty damn good, I must say.
Tells me you got some trouble that the old hot rod can help you out with. Well, I used to chew bubble gum and kick ass, but I give up chewing bubble gum. So now I can kick twice as much ass.
And the two of you are going to get the chance to do just that in a match against the tag team champion.
Title?
Non-title.
Good enough. Come on, kid.
It's a little strange walking around backstage and seeing people doing sit-ups and exercising on the ice-cold cement floor of a dirty-ass hallway rather than in a locker room or a gym, but hey, what can you do? I'll tell you what you can do. You can go through and engage in skill exercises to level up, which is completely unnecessary, or participate in different activities like starring in a movie to earn some cash. I thought this image of Jeff Hardy with a gun was really insane. WWE would never let that happen, but then I remembered this, so never mind.
Show me your badge. Hang on.
The cash we earn. What is the cash for? Well, I'm glad you asked, because it'll get us out of this 24/7 mode portion of the video. Cash is for the unlockables. Head over to the WWE shop and flip through. The Rock, Stone Cold, Bret Hart, Sabu, and many more wrestlers are available for purchase. To even earn the right to buy them, though, sometimes you've got to jump through the hoops of Hall of Fame mode. What is Hall of Fame mode? Excellent question. This is Hall of Fame mode. It's a list of challenges. Completing a challenge fills your meter and allows you to unlock certain characters if you can pony up the cash. What is the cash for? Well, I'm glad you asked. Wait, I'm going in circles now. A fair amount of this video has been negative, and that, it is what it is. I'll share with you my overall perception of this game when we start to wind down. But before then, let's talk about some of the cool things going on here. SmackDown vs. Raw 2008 isn't a piece of shit. I've been critical. All fair critiques, in my opinion, but I'm not saying this is trash. I really appreciate that the addition of the ECW brand came with a third announce team.
I was around back then too. I don't have as much nostalgia for steel chair to the skull.
Yeah, that's it. Do it again.
I know physical punishment is part of the game, but I can't believe you're enjoying this so much. The table's been broken in half, and so has his opponent.
Hearing Joey Styles doing commentary in a WWE branded video game, I like it. I just like Joey Styles, what can I say? I always pop for special entrances. Umaga carrying the belt in his hand? Awesome. Johnny Nitro swinging the belt in front of his schwanz is hilarious. Worth noting that by the time this game hit store shelves, Johnny Nitro had been repackaged as John Morrison, but it happened far too late to update in the game, apparently. This was the age of patches. Changing his name would have been simple, but whatever. Holding R2 during your entrances allows you to go into a first-person view. That's fucking weird. Look at these new additions to the roster. First appearances. I've already mentioned CM Punk, Sandman, Sabu, and Marcus Corvan, but check out Ashley Massaro, Kelly Kelly, Kenny Dykstra, Michelle McCool, JTG, Shad Gaspard. Even Terry Funk himself makes his first WWE video game appearance right here. SmackDown vs. Raw 2008's roster isn't the best of the best, but it's certainly no slouch. And that's impressive, seeing as though we've lost Kurt Angle to TNA, Chris Jericho to his little band, Chris Benoit to Trish Stratus and Lita to retirement. Come on now. Plus, Jeff Hardy's back for the first time since SmackDown Shut Your Mouth. You know that's a big deal to me. The submission system has a locking mini game that's it's nothing special. It barely works. And when you hit a finisher, it sounds like a gun spitting a loogie.
Look out. He's setting up his opponent. There it is. The RKO.
kick in the gut. Here it comes.
Stunner!
I don't know what the hell was going on there, but you know what? How many times have I said that in this video? I don't know what that was supposed to be, or I don't know what was going on there, but that's kind of the story of this game, in a way. A handful of just odd decisions. Many decisions were made in this era. Maybe it's time I tell you about my decision. I stated at the top of this video that around this time, mid to late 2007, my love for professional wrestling was on life support. And that's true. It was. I won't bore you to death with detail after detail. I'll just answer the question I posed in the beginning. That question being whether or not this game could turn it all around for me. The answer was no. It didn't take a couple weeks for me to realize that the magic was gone. I knew within a few hours of buying SmackDown vs. Raw 2008 that I didn't like this game very much. The slowness, the restrictive, and frankly unbalanced fighting styles, it was all just not what I was looking for. And so I was out. I was done. Not only did I stop watching wrestling entirely, across the board, no wrestling, I was checked out completely, I stopped buying the video games too. It wasn't until the pipe bomb in 2011 that I even had a passing interest in checking things out again. And it wasn't until the release of WWE 12 that I would buy another WWE video game. That's a bridge we'll cross eventually, but yeah, at the time, this was it. I was out. After 11 years of every waking moment revolving around wrestling, I was done. But I'm only one person. This is an overall retrospective, not just my personal recollection. WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2008's review scores were alright. I don't think many were as unimpressed as I was, but it is a fact that this game was received worse than usual. In the sales department, it was another hit. Over 6 million copies sold across all platforms. Do you see what I mean? I'm only one person. Do I hate this game? Absolutely not. Is it as bad as I remember it being from those 15 years ago when I first played it? Also no. After spending some considerable time with it for the first time in 15 years and honestly just adapting to how fucking slow it is and how unresponsive the controls are at times, there certainly is fun to be had here. If you asked me, do I recommend SVR 08? No, not really. There are better wrestling titles that came before and after this one. But I just want to be clear in saying, no, this isn't a terrible game at all. WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2008 falls somewhere in the lower middle part of the pack, in my opinion. It was kind of crazy coming back to this game 15 years after I initially swore it off. Kind of cathartic, in a way. Thank you for watching this latest episode of Triangle X Squared Circle, the Wrestling Game Retrospective Series. Next time out, I think we'll keep the heat turned up, but we'll dial back the clock a little bit to look at wrestling's rudest and roughest with WWF Raw on the Super Nintendo. Patreon.com/616entertainment. Sign up and let's unlock the history of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Seriously, the whole series. A 5-part retrospective. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.